All right, welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 2, Episode 23. I initially recorded this episode a couple weeks ago, but then the file didn't go all the way through, and then I got sick the following week, so that's why this one's so late. Getting really back on track has just been really hard because there's so many obstacles that just seem to arise. But anyway, I'm really trying to get back on track, especially now going into holiday season. So with that, we're going to start, as always, with esports. And in esports, currently the League of Legends World Championship is going on. We're going to talk about this. Again, I talked about this in the past show before it even started, but the recording just didn't go through. So here we go again. So I can't really predict group stages anymore because they're over. But for the standings, in Group A, which is Clutch Gaming, Unicorns of Love, and Mammoth, Clutch Gaming came in first, followed by Unicorns of Love, and then Mammoth. In Group C, which is Hong Kong Attitude, which there's been some talk about that, which we'll talk about later. Hong Kong Attitude came in first, then Low Key Esports, and then Mega Esports. In Group B, which is Splice, Icarus, and Detonation Focus Me, Splice came in first, followed by Icarus, and then Detonation Focus Me. And in Group D, which is Damwon, Royals Never Give Up, and Flamingo Esports. Damwon completely dominated 4-0, didn't drop a game, and the Royal Youth, and then Flamingo Esports is last. That then moved into playing knock-ins to see like who would actually win the tiebreakers. Clutch Gaming beat Royals Youth. Damwon beat Low Key Esports. Unicorn lost to Splice, and Hong Kong won to Icarus. Which means we move into Real League of Legends, which starts kind of tomorrow. Groups. So in Group A, we have Cloud9, Hong Kong Attitudes, G2, and Griffin. In Group B, we have Game Esports, Splice, Fun Plus Phoenix, and CTBC J-Team. In Group C, we have SKT, Fnatic, Royals, and then Clutch. Damn. In Group D, we have Damwon, HQ Esports Club, Team Liquid, and then Invictus. So let's get into my predictions and my talks of worlds, but we'll first get into my predictions. So I think that in Group A, which is Cloud9, Hong Kong, G2, and Griffin, there's only really two outcomes here. Either G2 wins and they move on, or Griffin wins and they move on. G2's the first seed in that group, and they're the first seed for Europe. Griffin, I believe, is the second seed for Korea. Cloud9 is the second seed for NA, and Hong Kong was the third seed for, I think, LPL. LPL. So if there's gonna be a group when we actually go, like NA goes far, Cloud9's certainly their team that performs the best at Worlds. Again, this is kind of a crazy group. I think that out of all the likelihood, based on just listening to previous talks, probably G2 is going to be first. I don't even know if that's on my pick'ems actually. Let's look that up. What did I put? Yeah, I put G2 first. So I think that probably in that group, G2 will be the first team to win Group A, followed by Griffin, then Cloud9, and then Hong Kong Attitude. That's what I think is going to happen. Because G2 has been dominating all year. And basically, what I was hearing from their performance on Summer Split, they're practically trolling. So, unless they're facing Fnatic. So, I think G2 is going to stomp that league. In Group B, which is Fun Plus Phoenix, Splice, Game Esports, and CTB J Team. Fun Plus is China's first seed, so that's I don't really know much about any of those regions, so that group B is kind of a wild card for me, where I can't really predict as much. So I put a Fun Plus for first because China's one of the probably contender for best league in the world. Well, I think all three leagues except for like NAR, but China's probably number one. And Splice fall is second because of Europe, and then the other ones are kind of Game Esports and CTB CJ Team. I think they're the lower regions, and they don't generally perform as well as Worlds compared to the Major Four. So that's kind of how that group is placed for me. Group C, which is probably the group of death, and probably the most interesting group to watch because it's the first game of Worlds, which we also go back to check on after my predictions. SKT Telecom. I think they're the ones that are going to take the tournament, most likely. They have performed crazy this year in China. I think they went like 17-2 over both summer and spring split. So that they're actually the first seeds of Korea on championship points, not because they won the league back to back like T and Liquid, but on championship points. So I think they're gonna take it. Second is Royals Never Give Up. They're always a really good international team when it comes to these tournaments. Sadly, they weren't at last year's Worlds, but they were pretty insane. Usually at MSI, and Uzi's an insane player, just like Faker is for SKT. Then we have Fnatic, baby G2, essentially. That's my third place. There's nothing much to say about Fnatic. Do I think they could win? Yes, they were the runner-ups of last year's Worlds, but I think against how crazy SKT has been performing this year, and Royals Never Give Up, it's really SKT's. I think it's going to be the first in that slot, and then Royals and Fnatic can switch, and then Clutch is dead last. They're fucking dead. Even like watching their performance this far, the first game they played against Unicorns of Love was atrocious. They got their shit together later on in the tournament, but it was pretty fucking bad. In Group D is another kind of wild card group. Can't really predict these things. Invictus, probably the most likely to win. I hear a lot of people are putting Damwon first because of how they've performed so far, but Invictus, from what I hear, they're either good or they're either bad, and they were last year's champions, so they're here to kind of defend their title essentially. So I put them in second just to be safe. I put Team Liquid in first because really it's based on hope. You know, I'm from North America. I don't have any expectations, but just for the fun of it and the fuck of it, I put Liquid first. You know, maybe they do get first. They probably don't, but you know, one can dream, essentially, is what I'm saying. And if they get first, it would be very, very interesting tournament. I put Damwon third. Actually, I'm thinking of maybe switching that, but they're third currently. Who knows? And then HHQ Esports Club is fourth. And that is my pick'ems and my predictions. The tournament starts in 10 hours officially, and we can look into the standings, the schedule starting. So we start this week's schedule for this weekend, starting off with SKT versus Fnatic. Okay. And then we go Clutch versus RNG. Invictus versus HQA Esports, Damwon versus Team Liquid, and then we have CTVG J Team versus Fun Plus, and Game Esports versus Splice. This starts at 7 a.m. For Central Time Zone tomorrow. That's when it starts, or at least at the time of recording this, which is Saturday, October 12th. Then on Sunday, we will have SKT versus Royals, Fnatic versus Clutch, Team Liquid versus Invictus, HKA versus Damwon, Griffin versus G2, Cloud9 versus Hong Kong. That also starts at 7. And then Monday, we will have Invictus versus Damwon, HUK versus Team Liquid, Fun Plus versus Splice, CTBC versus Game Esports, Griffin versus Hong Kong, G2 versus Cloud9. On Tuesday, we will have Royals Never Give Up versus Fnatic, Clutch versus SKT, Fun Plus versus Game, Splice versus CTBC, Cloud9 versus Griffin, Hong Kong versus G2. On Thursday, we will have, damn, they don't stop, do they? Game Esports versus Fun Plus, CTBCJ versus Splice, Game Esports versus CTBGJ, Splice versus Fun Plus, Splice versus Game Esports, Fun Plus versus CTBJ. And then Friday, October 18th, we have Griffin versus Cloud9, G2 versus Hong Kong, Hong Kong versus Griffin, Cloud9 versus G2, Hong Kong versus Cloud9, G2 versus Griffin. On Sunday, we'll have RNG versus SKT, Clutch versus Fnatic, SKT versus Fnatic, Clutch versus RNG, SKT versus Clutch, Fnatic versus RNG. On Sunday, October 20th, HAQ versus Invictus, Team Liquid versus Damwon, Team Liquid versus HHQ, Damwon. I don't think that's really a fair matchup back to back, but okay. Damwon versus Invictus, Damwon versus HHQ, Invictus versus Team Liquid. And then on Saturday, October 26th, will be tiebreakers to finish off groups. Now, let me talk about something real fast. My biggest pet peeve about these games is they're all best of ones, which is extremely disappointing to me. Here's the first reason of that. I believe LPL in Korea do not play best of one games. In their regions, they play best of threes, which I think is how these group stages should be played. But I understand Riot needs to hold people's attentions. They need to get the tournament going on fast. There's a lot of games. It's a lot of people. They can't be holding it for 2 months. That's a lot of money. And people's attention spans are short. So they need to be best of ones. But they should be best of threes. Here's the second reason. Okay. The game quality goes up when they're best of threes. Because we start to see strategy over let's just fucking run them down as fast as we can. You know, when it comes to best of threes, when on the screen right now, it's Fnatic versus SKT. Let's say Fnatic wins game 1, okay, and then SKT wins game 2, right? SKT's strategy, maybe the first game didn't work against Fnatic in the first game, but the second game they switched it up and they won again. And then the third game, they switch it up and then they win again. So we see strategy. One of the, I think the best worlds ever was 2017. And we saw these types of games, even though it was an art instance of meta, we saw these types of strategies emerge with Misfits versus SKT, that legendary game, where they came up with the strategy over the course of the series to beat SKT. And in best of ones, you can't do that. In best of ones, it's just about, you know, how fast can I fuck you, essentially, which doesn't really work. So that's a really sad part of these putting best of ones. I mean, I understand it. You gotta get the games going fast, but it's also kind of like at a disadvantage for a lot of teams, and a lot of teams aren't thinking about, you know, X or Y. Like for instance, Dan1 doesn't really play a lot of best of ones. So unless they're the better team, maybe Team Liquid is more who is more accustomed best of ones will probably win that game. But if we go on to best of fives, which happens during the fucking semifinals, then Dan1 probably has a better edge over Team Liquid, who's used to best in one games. So there's a whole lot of problems with that. I wish Riot didn't do that, but I understand it. You know, people have small attention spans. You got to keep it going. The last thing that I want to mention is that they also, and you can look up this stuff on your own because I don't think it's that important for the tournament. It doesn't really matter. They released the top 20 player list for who they think their top 20 players who perform well at the tournament will be. They also released a post talking about preseason and how they seem to want to do changes to the map itself, and along with changes to the jungle, top lane, and just that in general. We'll see how it goes. I'm very skeptical about this just because they seem to be changing a core, you know, foundation locked in stone to League of Legends, the map. And if you start changing the map, like maybe they add a new map that's the same. Like, I don't know, I think Dota does this where it's like kind of the same map, but like different kind of like visuals, then that's cool. But if they start changing shit, like certain walls can be broken or something like that, then we may have a problem. We'll see. There's more dates later. Also, there's a kind of rumor of the new champion, which is supposed to be released soon with their big like 10-year event, is maybe Lucian's wife is most likely. I think what it's going to be is what people are predicting. So that's kind of fun. That sums up basically the entire League of Legends news. Let's get into Overwatch, which now the link isn't working because I didn't know it because I'm not a huge Overwatch fan. But the tournament's over. This season's over. So here we go. We'll start with playoffs. So playoffs happened, and basically how it went was we had Chengdu Hunters versus Gangsu Chargers. Gangsu Chargers won, and then Shanghai Dragons versus Philadelphia Fusion was the finals for the play-ins, and Shanghai Dragons won. They moved on. Shanghai Dragons versus London was the finals for that. London won, and then Gangsu Chargers versus Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty won, and that was playoffs. So then from playoffs, they moved into the grand finals, and the grand finals was actually happening the day I recorded my last show, but it didn't work out, and it was San Francisco Shock versus Vancouver. I believe it actually doesn't tell you who won. Because this was supposed to happen September 29th. So here, let's look it up real fast. Who won Overwatch League 2019? Because this also can tie in essentially to our next topic about Blizzard. So San Francisco won, it looks like. So yeah, San Francisco won. I don't know. Overwatch League setup, the thing is very confusing to me. Apparently next year they're supposed to be traveling, which is so with that schedule that they play, I'm not too keen on that to begin with. But before we move on to kind of the big topic, I talked about Worlds. I've talked about Overwatch League. There's a lot of kind of Blizzard news that happened over the last couple weeks, but we're gonna move into game releases. Big ones: Magic the Gathering Arena officially released on PC. I've been playing that forever. It's nothing big. I think the game has a lot of problems, to be honest. But if you want to play Magic online standard for free, if you haven't played Magic, which is I think it's a pinnacle game you need to play as a gamer at least once, preferably on paper. There you go. You can play it on your PC. Mario Kart Tour also released on the iPhone. There's been a lot of kind of fun, cool things of that. People playing. Untitled Goose Game released, and that got a whole lot of fucking news about it. Legend of Zelda Link Awakening released. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff there. FIFA 20, no one really cares about a fucking soccer game, I guess. Unless you're into that, but a lot of people don't. Code Vienna, a little fun little JRPG release. Call of Duty Mobile came out. Destiny 2 Shadowkeep came out, which is I've heard really good things about Destiny 2 Shadowkeep so far. Nothing problematic. The raid came out the week after it was released. Ghost Recon Breaking Point came out. Didn't really hear a whole lot about that. It's probably a decent game. Atlas came out. John Wick's Hex, Trine 4, just small kind of indie titles. Overwatch for the Switch is stated to come out really soon, as well as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for the Switch. Probably the next big games people are looking forward to is Call of Duty, which comes out October 25th on all platforms except the Switch. And then the Switch's big release will probably be Luigi's Mansion until we get into November, which Red Dead Redemption 2 has been announced for the PC, so that comes out in November 5th. That's a big one. Death Stranding will probably be the big ones for November, and Pokemon, of course. So I'm looking forward to Pokemon and maybe Death Stranding, and the Star Wars game. So in Civ for PlayStation. Oh, and they also talked about, because I'm just remembering, like, what did I miss past shows? The last thing, well, we can move on, essentially. So, what happened last week? Apex Legends Season 3 started. A new map, a new character. I know that came out. Also, PlayStation did a state of play. There's kind of two big PlayStation news that happened. The first one being the Last of Us kind of trailer came out, and release date, I believe it's February 2020, around there. It's early in the year. That was the first kind of big PlayStation news. Of course, like, it's our predecessor, the PS3. Last of Us is the last PlayStation exclusive game, I believe, for the PS4, because they released the release date for the PS5, which is, of course, like everyone could predict it, holiday of 2020. That's when it comes out. Alright, so this is a continuation because the stream's been fucking up recently. Basically, I just finished talking about the PlayStation 5. So I'm gonna pick up from right there, I believe. So PlayStation 5 comes out holiday 2020. The controller will have a new trigger system for developers. It will have a new vibration systems, and the charger will be USB-C. It will be an 8K. It will have PS4 backwards compatibility. That's kind of the big stuff. The second stuff being that. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about was Blizzard in Hong Kong. So it starts back kind of last week with a South Park Chinese episode, essentially, basically explaining. The episode was basically about how the entertainment market here has to cater to Chinese censorship and over there if they want to make money, because it's 2 billion people over there, and that's 2 billion eyes, and that's a lot of fucking money. So a lot of companies essentially are catering to the Chinese government, which is a communist government, which, if here in America, we haven't had the best history with communist governments, and our relationship with China is kind of love-hate. Meaning they make all of our stuff, and we don't make it, and we don't like that, but we kind of need them because they make all of our stuff. So that's one problem. The other problem is how Chinese human rights have kind of been in the news issues, and how they treat other humans in there, and how it's been extremely problematic because they've kind of been not doing basic human rights. So moving to present day, 3 days ago, Blizzard banned a Hearthstone Championship player. They banned him for a year. They removed him from the tournament. They took away his earnings, and they fired 2 of their casters. The reason why Activision Blizzard did this was because he came out on his winning interview pro Hong Kong. Now, Blizzard is owned by Activision Blizzard is invested heavily by Tencent. Tencent is a Chinese conglomerate company that essentially invests heavily into the gaming industry and owns Riot Games. They own 40% of Epic Games, as well as a lot of small-time companies. So, that's a big kind of problem, essentially. So we have to kind of cater, the gaming industry has to cater to the Chinese market because of that. They're not the only ones. Blizzard hasn't been the only ones doing this. Riot does it because they have to. They're owned by Tencent. Recently, there's been reports of if you say phrases like Wukong's free, or choose Wukong, or anything like that, you've been getting banned. There's been clips of them at Worlds where their casters have been saying Hong Kong Attitudes, which is a team which the owner is actually pro-Chinese, and the casters have been catching themselves. So once they say Hong Kong, they go oh, and they go HKA instead of saying Hong Kong. So it's very problematic and touchy situation right now. I thought I would bring this to everyone's attention, make it aware. Again, they're not the only one. This hasn't been the first time this has happened. Nike is also under fire for the same reasons. The NBA is under fire for the same reasons because I think a manager of the Houston Rockets, who the Houston Rockets own Clutch Gaming, I believe, they came out, and it's either Clutch Gaming or 100 Thieves. It's one of those league teams. He came out pro Hong Kong, so now the NBA has been, kind of trying to scramble to, apologize to the Chinese government, and China has been removing, NBA, advertisements in China and just things like that. Even the South Park episodes banned in China. Winnie the Pooh's banned in China, in case you didn't know, because how some people made fun of how their president looks like Winnie the Pooh, so he banned Winnie the Pooh, and Winnie Pooh's a white blob in Kingdom Hearts 3, in case you didn't know. So this problem has been going on for a very long time. I thought I would bring it to people's attention, mostly. I'm really sad that this recording keeps getting cut off. I need to fix this because I don't think, just for people's news and kind of how the show's been working, because last week's show, or a couple weeks ago, I recorded all this, and then it got cut off, so I had to redo it. But then I got sick, so I couldn't redo it, and now we're doing this show. So I'm probably gonna have to find a new format to do it. But that concludes this week's show. Thanks for listening. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Nothing. Hopefully this will get resolved within the next couple shows. But if you want to listen to all of our previous shows, we have them all archived on YouTube. You can listen to all of our last couple shows, the most recent ones, on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play Podcast. Follow us on social media. It's not a sport to you. Now, usually I would stream these shows on twitch.tv/saltywaffles, but I don't know with the most recent problems if I'm going to keep doing that. Thanks for listening. I hope you're having a wonderful climb in your games, or just playing great games in general. Take care.